What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just introduce Tim from IATA, who's going to be the moderator for the next panel, and he will introduce the panelists to the stage. Welcome, Tim.
Okay. Thank you very much, John. Hello, everyone. First of all, John, congratulations. It's Friday, almost afternoon, and the room is still pretty full. So this is quite an achievement, I must say. Well done. Thank you, Silin, for your presentation. Great intro into the topic. Now, what we're trying to do here before I introduce the panelists is we will try to avoid buzzwords as much as we can. So I hope nobody's going to say blockchain, nobody's going to say data lakes, and my favorite being ecosystem. So if we can avoid these and focus a little more on what it actually does and what is the impact and what are the benefits for our industry, that would be a massive achievement for our panel, hopefully. So let me introduce the panelists, apart from Silin, who you've already heard of. I'd like to welcome to stage Marco van Leperen. He's the head of airline partnerships at Kiwi.com. Welcome, Marco. We have Noel Connolly, SVP for CellPoint Mobile. Welcome, Noel. Please join us on stage. Marco, if you don't mind, Marco, if you could sit here, and then Noel in the middle. And last but not least, we have Bongani Twala from Honeywell. He's the regional general manager for the region. Welcome, Bongani. So before I'm gonna sit down and ask these gentlemen challenging questions, I was told let's talk about what IATA does, just for a minute or two. So first of all, thank you, John, for having us here, and I think it's been great to work together on this event, and we as IATA are more than happy to support you because you're definitely trying to do the right thing and in the right way as well. So as you will know, IATA is not necessarily known as a technology-focused company or organization, and that's really not our mission or vision. But what we're trying to do is we try to bring people together in the industry, and then we want these people to make things happen. So we create platforms, we create events, we create partnerships, we create programs. One example is we have increasingly provided platforms for people to share data across the industry. So it might often be difficult for people to, I'm not going to give you my data, you know, maybe if you give me your data. So these discussions are usually endless. So as IATA, we're in a good position to say, here's a neutral data sharing platform. So if you guys all provide your data in here, that's how we can facilitate many important programs. Now, the last and probably most relevant area is for us in setting standards, obviously. So you all benefit from these every day, and some of you may be conscious about it, some of you maybe not, but e-tickets, barcoded boarding passes, etc., all this is based on certain standards, and that's our role, to basically set these standards and make sure these people that are usually much smarter than we are, they actually know how to design the processes that, you know, different industry stakeholders can actually communicate with each other properly, because you want to make sure you come up with a barcode on that boarding pass that can actually be read at that machine at the other end of the world. So this is IATA's role in a nutshell. Hope that makes sense. And now let's move to the real meat here. So Marco, we'll start with you. Why don't you introduce yourself, Kiwi.com,
Yep.
and what you're providing?
Yeah, well, maybe on stage we're a bit odd one out. We are in technology, but more travel technology as such. So Kiwi.com very much is an online travel agent offering a website for passengers to book their flights. And oh, I see we have the slide. So if you can go through, let me pick it up. If I can go to the next slide, is there a clicker or?
Oh, I think.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry for that, thanks. So, yeah, well, let me take first a step back, as in, all the challenges and with that the opportunities we talked about in the African continent. And obviously a lot is about the poor connections, and we will find out how we as Kiwi.com have our technology and how we are kind of servicing that. And the other thing is that there is pretty limited number of flights being offered in Africa, and not supporting those connections as well. And just to throw in one number, if you look globally, the low-cost carriers represent 25% of the global traffic. In Africa, low-cost carriers only represent 10% of the traffic, so there's still a lot of opportunity for growth there as well. And basically, with the poor connections, the limited offering, obviously the operational cost of the travel is pretty expensive, and with that, prices of flights are pretty expensive as well. Also, airlines working together this morning in the panel was talked about interlining special pro-rate agreements and the cost of that and code shares. Well, we have a solution to knock out that type of cost. So just to give a live example, if you look for a flight from Livingstone to Abidjan on the 13th of June, this is the travel. It's normally a flight of 5 hours. It will take you 21 hours and it costs you more than $1,000. We kind of do other stuff. So what we want as Kiwi.com for the African continent is to open up new routes, bring new routes. We're not an airline, but we are creating routes, offer more frequent flights, more options and more offers. With that, increase the connections and lower the fares for the customers. So how we do that is through what we call virtual interlining. We, like I said in the opening, we combine flights, we build in multiple segments into one itinerary for the traveler. We take one payment, we have one customer support whilst they're traveling on different airlines. With that, we have what we call the Kiwi.com guarantee in the middle. So in case there is a flight disruption and somebody is stuck at the airport missing their next flight, on the cost of Kiwi.com, that passenger will be rebooked on the next available flight, and if that's the day after, we will take care of the hotel, meals, etc. So a bit about Kiwi.com in a glance. We were founded almost exactly 7 years ago, so we're still a pretty young company. Last year, our turnover in total was over 1 billion euros, so quite a phenomenal growth over the last couple of years. We have more than 2,600 employees around the globe in 14 offices. We are operating in close to 180 countries. We combine over 750 airlines altogether to create those virtual interline itineraries. And of that 750, it's over 250 low-cost carriers globally as well. And we sell over 35,000 seats daily. So that's kind of as in a glance. Very briefly, our future plans, and I will elaborate a bit more on that going forward as well, but we did a minority investment in Aero CRS, for example, which host African airlines, regional airports, smaller airports. So we are stepping into more like the airline technology ourselves as well, next to our online travel agency activities.
Thank you very much, Marco. That's quite an impressive growth story to hit 1 billion after 7 years. Well done. Noel, tell us a bit more about CellPoint Mobile and yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Noel Connolly. I head up sales globally for CellPoint Mobile. We're a mobile-first travel technology company. So without buzzwords, we work as domain specialists, primarily looking at repeatable and simple-to-use technologies to help drive customer behaviors, profitability, and lower costs. So again, we're a pretty new company, been really around for the last 7 years. But we've grown to 130 people in 7 countries. And over the last number of years, we've signed airlines such as Southwest Airlines, Gold, Ethiopian Airlines. So quite a regional and global footprint. But our prime real technology play and understanding of what we're trying to bring, I guess our big, hairy, audacious goal is to be the key travel marketplace and #1 transactor of travel transactions in the globe, and how we think we're going to do that. And quite interestingly, in the the previous panel, without going into, the previous gentleman when he did the airport of the future, without going into actually some buzzwords. We're very keen to look at airlines and how they look at a true digital platform. And by a digital platform, that's everything from how do you actually sell your product? How do you market that? Are you able to, if you look at the true passenger journey, from the moment somebody thinks about traveling until they end up at their hotel or their business meeting, there's multiple different places along that journey where an airline, a hotel, or a travel merchant can make some more money from that passenger. So how are you going to promote to them? Our legacy is in payments. Payments is one of the true enablers for travel. I think as the previous panel, the gentlemen were mentioning about airports and how airlines need a co-fund and getting money into it. Well, payment and airlines for cash flow is huge. So the greater they're able to pay, the more they're able to understand the customer. It gives them a big advantage, and to tie it all together, very similar to the previous gentleman, the data. So really understanding what your customers are doing. So if you have one platform that really allows people to understand the buying behavior, the payment behavior, I think if you look at some, I'm sure Kiwi are the same, a lot of OTAs, they're doing 100 A/B tests a day, this market versus another market, and does it make sense to increase our price of our seat by $10, and how will the market react? So really understanding where that data is and making decisions which are allowing them to obviously increase their profits, decide which routes they can switch their aircrafts, and leveraging the technologies that are in the other parts of the value chain. So whether it's the airports, whether it's the hotels and the other environments and things like mass transportation. So we really want to help enable all of the airlines and all the travel merchants to do that. We do it in a very simple way. We've got a very omni-channel experience. So we don't have to have the world's biggest airlines. We really want to work with what the airline's trying to do, and customers right at the heart of that. So what do their customers actually want? Because we're the customer of the travel merchant, the airline, the hotel, the mass transport. So what do their customers want, and how can we help them create an omni-channel experience to really fulfill that? And I fully believe in the methodology of walk, crawl, and run. And I think a lot of the technology that's there drives people to want to run. But if you can simplify a lot of your experience as part of the crawl phase, it enables you to get through. So make sure that you're capturing all the data that you need, making sure that you're really understanding your customer, and you're leveraging the maximum amount of revenue that you can get from them. So, and being a mobile-first customer, and I think, Asia and Africa and Latin America quite often are mobile-only environments. So from CellPoint, we truly believe that if you understand the mobile and how people are really wanting to pay, to commerce and to travel, then you're going to understand the future. If you're going to stick within legacy, then you're going to bring your legacy problems with you. So understanding exactly how the future wants to work and enabling the technology to go with it. So as I said, we've got 30 plus clients in 7 offices across the globe. And just to give an example of our very recent foray into this region, we implemented into Ethiopian Airlines some Chinese payment methods, because obviously there's a lot of infrastructure and projects that are happening. And when we first enabled Alipay into the airline through their mobile technology, we found that the average ticket price that they were getting was north of $2,000. When they originally were putting the business case together, they thought it would have been smaller transactions. And since we've done that, we now enable both the airport for people who travel from China who want to use Alipay for a visa. We're enabling that. And also we're launching it for Ethiopian holidays. And behind that, another 8 or 9 payment methods, which again will end up across from it. And what that shows is if you can really understand what the business is and what Ethiopian Airlines was trying to do, and work in small projects to really help them drive and make a better experience for their customers, you can grow with them, and also you can make some big forays and big results very quickly. So that's what we're trying to do.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, so we have the distribution and payment area. Marco, he called you an OTA. Is that a title you would accept for Kiwi.com?
No, not really. Not really. We're doing much more. And if you are anything, we're an OTM.
Okay. OTM, M being?
Market, an online travel market.
Fair enough. Thanks for a quick answer. Bongani, welcome to the panel. Please
thank you.
tell us about Honeywell and how do you fit in the picture?
So, good morning. In simple terms, Honeywell has been involved in the aviation industry for over 100 years. It is extremely difficult, I would say almost impossible, to undertake air travel today without interacting with a Honeywell system or a product in some way. So from the time that a passenger enters a terminal building, we supply the systems and the products that keep airport terminals secure through Honeywell access control systems and surveillance systems. We supply systems that keep terminal buildings safe through Honeywell fire detection systems. We keep buildings, and in particular terminal buildings, very, very energy efficient. We supply systems that manage the energy and drive the right comfort levels for passengers as they go through the terminal buildings. We supply signage systems through the terminal buildings, and we integrate all of these systems into a single platform that allows a single possibility to visualize, but also to automate all of these individual systems. So that's just inside the terminal building. Once you start looking at the air side of the airport, we supply end-to-end software that allows operators to manage the operations in an airport. We call this Navitas. It's really a smart airport management system, which is very, very scalable. And in the context of the earlier discussions today, I would say it is fit for purpose because it is scalable. You can build it up depending on the size of the airport and the functionality that you require. So the visualization of what is going on in your airport, especially on the on the air side, the routing of aircraft, visualizing all the movements, enhancing the situational awareness about the traffic and safety conditions, and automating fault diagnostics and enhancing the ability to carry out maintenance on the air side. We have got other products on the air side. Some of them would be very, very familiar to the audience. Airport or AGLS systems. They are in some of the biggest airports in the world. VDGS systems, which optimize docking times at airports, similar to what you were talking about. These are important systems to drive efficiency and to drive costs down. We'll speak a little bit about this later on. And some, I would say, more groundbreaking systems. We've got something called GBES, which replaces the legacy ILS systems. We'll discuss that because it's quite relevant for this discussion. And once you are inside, an airplane, I would say probably minimum 50% of commercial aircraft that fly today have got Honeywell APUs, right? Auxiliary power units. The wheels and braking systems that you find in commercial and private planes are mostly supplied by Honeywell. Right? There's a statistic that every 5 seconds there's an aircraft that lands, and it is helped by Honeywell wheels and brakes. So every 5 seconds. Ground proximity warning systems. So these give oral alerts for the pilot while the pilot is flying. If there are obstacles in the flight path, they help to plan the flight routing. And in modern times now, the Wi-Fi that you find inside the commercial planes is likely supplied by Honeywell. So it's an end-to-end product and systems portfolio that we supply, and these are some of the examples. We'll concentrate, I suppose, more on the African context and how we can assist in the African context with fit-for-purpose solutions.
Thank you, Bongani. That's certainly an impressive list, and I would probably say a lot of the stuff that people take for granted, it's what you guys do behind the scenes, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Most of the systems, you cannot see,
Exactly.
but they actually help
Yeah.
to keep the aviation industry going.
Up and running.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Silin, we've had a very impressive presentation from you, so well done on that. And I will probably move a little further into the impact side, because I thought you had a few great examples on your slides. We're saying technology only makes sense if it has an impact. And it could be reducing cost for the industry, it could be increasing revenues, or improving passenger experience or customer experience. Now, you had some good examples, and I'm almost thought for a second I may be checking my bag again in the future. Because as most people that work in the industry, we usually don't check our bags, right?
Yeah.
So can you give us some examples on, where you think, especially your airport of the future-based solution, where will it have the biggest impacts in terms of passenger customer experience? Will it lead to cost reductions, revenue increased? People maybe have more time for shopping because they spend less time in security.
Yeah.
So where do you see the biggest impact?
Thank you, Tim. I do agree with you that technology must have an impact for the business, then the technology have the use, right? So, in the past that we do have some internal debate about this kind of technology-oriented or customer-oriented, such kind of, or innovation-oriented. And in the past, we designed products or solutions just based on the 3 years cycle or something. Because if our engineers, yesterday I mentioned, half our engineers, 50% they are the R&D engineers. For the engineers, they always have something, try to creative in the past. They try to think, okay, I will design something more than it's very wonderful, everybody feel amazing, or these kind of things, but always criticize our management level because they always said, you must design the solutions that the customer need, not you need. This is the key things. Until now, we made a little bit different change because that after we go into this position as the industry, we consider that we are going to invest more fundamental investment. So we have a 2012 lab, because you see that movie, right? We got that lab before that. All this lab is doctors or something. We are considering 5 years, 10 years fundamental technologies, like the latest 5G, why Huawei is now advanced, because since 10 years ago, we start to investment to make the innovation, like any other technologies we have. So we do make some changes. So go back to our topic here, that how our technology could influence our airports. This is always I'm thinking, because in the past 5 years, I'm working not only in aviation, but in transportation, because I take care of the air. Sometimes I make comparison. So I have two opinions I want to share with everybody. Is that first, I think experience is revenue. This is my first opinion. Compared with other vertical industry like the metro, they also, for sure, they focus on the experience or something. But I have to say, really, aviation is the industry that you do make a lot of attentions on the experience. And I do agree with that. Why is the experience? Because nowadays more competitions, no matter airports, more in airlines. these days I listen a lot of discussions about airlines maybe because of profit issues or something. So if I can encourage all the experience of the customers, you can attract more passengers. More passengers means more revenues. I can give you an example that, in the city that I located, Shenzhen, it's a really complicated city because I have a Hong Kong airport, which is just 30 kilometers away, if Hong Kong International Airport. I have Guangzhou International Airport, which is just 150 kilometers away. And both of them are millions. Even for Guangzhou, there are more passengers than Shenzhen. But, this kind of competitions, how we can improve it, use the technology to improve that. I can share with you a story. When I talked with the Hong Kong airport, he told me, because the Shenzhen airports have this kind of, now we have more international routes or something, so more passengers, more stay, because for me, Shenzhen is more close, right? If I go to China, Hong Kong, even Hong Kong belongs to China, I need to also go to the permission or something. For me, I will take 1 hour, 2 hours, right? But if I can have a flight, for example, this time when I come to Johannesburg, I go directly from Shenzhen airport. Instead of go to Hong Kong airport. So the Hong Kong airports think, okay, I will use the latest technologies. I will send my car, go direct to my VIP customers, and my ideas. When you go into my cars, you are going to finish all the procedures or checking everything. I don't want to waste time on this, all the kind of issues. I just bring you to the area I want to let you do. So first thing I want to explain is try to use the technology to improve experience. If you do that, you are going to improve your revenues, these kind of things. Second thing I want to say is, if you want to increase the revenue or the cost reduction something, please do not do each point by each point. You have to check the end-to-end process. This is the key. Sometimes, if you do this part, maybe you just transfer the cost to another part. Yeah. For example, like the airports, I know that nowadays more airports, I think, is profitable. Airlines have not big problems. But everybody knows that airports, many airports, your main income is not from your core business. I mean, the aircraft or these kind of things. Many airports, your business is from your other business, like the shopping or something. CEO of Hong Kong airports told me their main income is the shopping area. And among the shopping areas is the lady areas, Marshall, these kind of things. So he's checking with me, saying how you use the big data technologies to define the people. First, I must simplify all the procedures. Don't let them stay in the check-in, don't let them stay in the security. I need them to stay more in my shopping area. Second, use the big technologies, try to check which is my hot areas. I want to redefine my areas inside the airports. Yeah. So this is something we can really do to try to improve in this kind of, as I said, end-to-end procedures.
Perfect. Thank you, Silin. And you said more passengers means more money. John, I think we found a theme for next year. So I think we can all relate to that, everybody in this room, right? We all like more passengers, meaning more money. Marco, is that true for Kiwi.com as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Although that's not the goal in itself, but obviously with our travel technology and our website, with the one-stop shop, we want to help the travelers to have a better experience. To start off with, a lot of airlines, and there's a lot of talks about, indeed, point-to-point, but we look at the traveler from the true origin destination to the final destination. That's what we kind of cover, that's what we offer, and we will take the next step with that as well, that we will do kind of investing in door-to-door transportation. So except to flights, we're integrating bus, rail, taxis, and more kind of services to make that a seamless experience. And we hope that through that seamless experience and that bringing people from the true origin to the destination, that indeed more passengers will be traveling. And secondly, like I said, with certainly in Africa, with the convenient connections, our algorithms are kind of developed to create those non-existing itineraries with airlines who does not cooperate, and with that we give we meet the needs of those travelers who are traveling from their origin to the destination, but also we give them much more alternatives, and with that we have impact on the pricing as well. We create lower prices, and obviously that kind of makes sure that the business will be growing, that there are more passengers to the airports and to the airlines.
Sounds like you could be a SATM accelerator.
Yeah, I think we could. Because in a way although we're not a political type of organization at all, now definitely we started off as a disruptive company and kind of enabling the travel industry in a new way and in new forms. And we think that Africa is not separate to that, and that we can indeed, through a kind of disruption, but also helping the governments, and we're working with airports alike as well, that we can make, in the end, a better experience for the customer, for the traveler, because I think that's at core of all of us, what we are doing. We want to give the customer a good experience, affordable travel, so they can do their business, or they meet the family, or go on holidays.
Very good. Well, CellPoint Mobile, where do you see the biggest impact that you make? And maybe at the same time also, what are some of the specific challenges or opportunities for the African market? You gave us the Ethiopian example, but there wasn't really anything, further south. So sure. What do you think is in the way?
Well, it's a great question. I think the opportunity is endless. I think every panel and every discussion I've seen so far, whether it's airports being built, like as the gentleman yesterday morning mentioned about the investment in infrastructure here in Cape Town, and what's happened as part of their process, through to the previous presentation about the airports, and is it if you build them they will come, or is it moving down the line of airlines working together to share traffic rights? But I think it's even there's some fundamental things which are simpler than that we can actually use. The customer has to be at the heart of it. I completely agree with everything that Silin said about technology and everything that comes with it, but the customer's at the heart of it. Airlines need to accept that they are retailers. I know we move passengers, we move bags, we support countries, their GDP, we drive a lot of industry changes, but in reality, airlines are retailers. They provide a product and a service, and people like ourselves, Kiwi, etc., provide a channel for people to buy it. In that channel, you can offer, as they're doing in North America, something that doesn't even allow you to bring a bag on board, through to these new first-class cabins that Emirates does, and everything in between. I think airlines are a little bit too worried sometimes about charging too much and fighting competitively versus their next-door neighbour from $10 here and there. I used to work in the GDS world, and we were the least popular people in town. But in reality, what everybody needs to have is what I would call a digital strategy. And a digital strategy is use clever people like Kiwi, CellPoint for your channel stuff. You still need some brick and mortar travel agents. You still need to understand, as like CellPoint does, like a lot of how your customers are paying. So some of the wallets that are used in Africa that are peer-to-peer, the M-Pesas, Apple Pay, etc., which is doing phenomenal numbers in North America. And just look at the models of why Uber and Amazon are the leading e-commerce or kind of digital go-to people. They provide a simple, repeatable service, and they are always asking for you to score. Uber asks you to score the driver, and the driver to score you. We're very one-way when it comes in the airline space. So put the customer at the heart of it. And when it comes to technology, really look at your technology and utilize it for what you need, not what you think you need or what you've seen in a conference like this. So what can you do to support your brand? And quite often, one of the paralysis in this industry is the need to go to market to tender. I've got a tender for a new payment method, I want a tender for a new GSA, a new reservation system. What my experience has been in the last number of years is technology providers are collaborating a lot more. We are sharing information, because ultimately, if the passenger's not happy, then there's no flights, there's no connectivity. So, it's not a rip and replace. It's look at what you have, and what we're trying to do, as you said, the start is without is trying to integrate a platform on top of what people have. Use your inventory like a vending machine. How much do you have? How much do you need to make for that flight? And use the technology and allow the customer to decide how much that they think it's worth. So from our side, we've done mobile-only campaigns for some of the people we've developed native mobile apps for, and by just putting simple codes in a promotion, they've seen a 500% increase in their traffic, in one day, because they've tried to position what they wanted to sell for the passenger using the channel they wanted to do with the payment that they're looking to do. And we work a lot effectively with IATA, but one of the things I have about NDC is we never talk fulfillment. How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to connect it? Yeah. So, let's allow the passengers to educate us, and let's have a simple, repeatable service. And for Africa, you know your passengers more than anybody else. Yeah. Technology, it's almost mobile only. Right. You've skipped a lot of the mistakes other people have made. So look at your technology, see what really needs to be refreshed, and then concentrate on trying to have simple digital platforms, and then use the connectivity from airport through to the airplanes, through to the off-site, and and I think that's the smartest way to lower costs and drive revenue.
Thank you, Noel. So Bongani, the three of us being of European background, Silin, being from China, you're our man for Africa. From a personal perspective, given your role, and also from a Honeywell perspective, where do you think you could make the biggest impact here? Where's the biggest pain that you can help overcome in the region?
I have to agree that whatever planning is put in place has to be an end-to-end digitalization based plan. This we cannot run away from. We have to embrace technology. So that is the starting point. So there has to be interconnectivity between the passenger to drive the passenger experience through the airport, to make the passenger go through the airport as efficiently and as quickly and as painlessly as is possible. For the airline operator, their transition into the airport from the time that they are in the air all the way down until they take off again has to be as smooth as is practically possible. So from a technology perspective, all of these things have to be digitalized. They have to be absolutely smart. However, to come back to the earlier themes from today and from yesterday, some of the airports are relatively small, and there are questions about sustainability. So while we're speaking about making these airports very, very smart, we have to put them in a slightly broader context and try to say, should they not be part of a smart city? So as much as we are trying to come up with smart airports, these ideas on aerotropolis, we have to locate these airports in the broader scheme of aerotropolis and start making them drivers of economic development within the areas that they are connected. In that way, the process of interconnecting the user, the resident, etc., of that city to the airport and travel starts even outside of the airport. So there has to be as I say, digitalization, smart city, smart airport type of thinking that starts to permeate through the industry.
Thank you. So we're almost out of time, but Silin, I have another question for you. You mentioned in your presentation the remotely operated towers for smaller airports, right? I picked it up on one of the slides. Is that a technology that you think would be fit for purpose for the African market, where sometimes
the smart stand allocation?
A smarter stand allocation, and then there was a mention of tower operations remotely operated.
Yeah. It do work. It do work. We already have this. I think the first thing that I want to emphasize is that for this one, because why we start with that part, that because also I start because of the the passenger experience. I don't know if you face a situation that I don't know it's Africa because I come here not so many times, 3 or 4 times. But anyway, in China, the problem is that every time, especially in the raining days, when you arrive to the airport, you are always send you to the remote site. And what makes you more angry is when you go to the terminal side, you found it still available standing there. This is the problems that always happen. So that's the reason we try to use the latest technologies to try to solve that. And it works. I think it's okay. I think it's a work for African market. But I do have some really suggestions. For me, as I said, even the first time I came to Cape Town, but I came to this country, this is the first time I come within the 2 years I came here because I really potential. I think this market is really potential. As mentioned in the panel yesterday, only 10% of our people here use the air transportations. But the thing is, I think first we really need to use the latest technologies. We really don't need to copy the procedures that other continents already did. For example, I can give you an example is that, you know how we started from telecom business since the beginning, right? And the beginnings, when we entered the African continent, that we have all our, 20 years ago, we have our companies established in this country, and we find that in these countries, you don't have enough fibers or this kind of infrastructures. So we do suggest to the telecom operators, you go direct to 3G technology, wireless technologies. The same as nowadays, you really don't need to copy, go step by step, because if you do this, you always one step later than others. So let's start from the latest one. Second thing is I think localization is quite important. This is very key for this one. And I also use this time to choose my team here. Sean is my local team here. He's responsible for aviation here in South Africa. Even we have many interactions with the people here, I have to say, for Huawei, we always give the authorization for local people. Here in South Africa, we have 2,000 people. And host regions, we already have almost 4,000 people, these kind of things. We work here for 20 years. We give 90% of our authorizations I give to these guys. If they don't beyond their authorizations, no matter commercial or private, any issues, they make decisions locally. Right. So that's, I must be sure, all the local peoples, they are really understand the situations here and everything here. Great. So this is my recommends to our local. Yeah.
Thank you, Silin, and thank you, fellow panelists. If you see we have a little red shade in our faces, that's because the time is up thing is lighting at us. So thank you very much for your contributions, for your opinions. Very interesting. Thank you, John, and I'll hand it back over to you.